From the BBC World Service, in association with ABC and All India Radio, this is Stumped.
Hello and welcome to Stumped, your intercontinental hit of news, features and debate from the quirky world of cricket. I'm Alison Mitchell and I'm about to travel back from the south of France. I've been just near to beautiful fishing port of Cassis. It's about an hour's drive from Marseille. Searing cliffs, limestone and sandstone, azure water. It's been a really lovely break. And it was interesting to be out of England, in fact, for the funeral of Her Majesty the Queen. There was quite a lot of French interest over here and lots of people wanting to ask us about it as English visitors about what we thought about it all. So anyway, France is looking very pretty at the moment, but also looking forward to getting back to England.
Hi, Jim Maxwell for the ABC in Sydney, where, would you believe, it's raining. Yes, it's always raining in Sydney. But I was away during the week at Wagga with my wife Jennifer at the Winter Australian Swimming Championships, where, would you believe, young Jennifer won a silver medal in the relay. There were lots of medals going around, to be fair, but she's picked one up, and that'll bring her back again next year. So I thought that piece of information was worth passing on, Charu.
Well, please do congratulate Jennifer from all of us, the entire Stumped team. Hi, this is Charu Sharma for All India Radio, back home for a change in Bangalore, where thankfully it is not raining, so we can get on with all our golf and tennis. But I do wonder, I can't get over how India allowed Australia to get past 209 in a T20. I mean, that's a crazy chase. But we'll see more of that series. Although, mind you, there was a lot of compensation because it was wonderful watching late last night the Indian girls beating England in England with that ODI series win, thanks to Harmanpreet's explosive, fabulous big 100. Great to watch.
Yep, and they have a finale, haven't they? One Day International at Lord's over this weekend, which is a big occasion because England's women haven't played there since 2017. And it will be a repeat of that 2017 World Cup final, but India this time. Yes, Charu, you're right. They've already won the series. Now, first on Stumped this week, England's men are touring Pakistan for the first time since 2005. That's a tour that I was on back then for a Test and ODI series. But the reason England's cricketers have stayed away from the country for so long has been due to safety fears prompted by an attack on the Sri Lankan team bus by gunmen in Lahore in 2009. So for many years, no country would tour Pakistan. Their home matches were played in the UAE, starving their fans of their heroes. But slowly, countries started to go back, and many individual cricketers and overseas coaches have been featuring in the Pakistan Super League as well. Now, England's men and women were meant to tour last year, but they were postponed in the wake of a supposed security threat while the New Zealand team were there. So there's a lot of background to this long-awaited trip. So first of all, what has it been like at the matches? Well, we can cross to Karachi and speak to Nick Hoult, who's covering the series as chief cricket correspondent for British newspaper The Telegraph. Nick, thanks for joining us. You were at the ground in Karachi for the first T20 of the series earlier in the week. Can you just describe what it was like for us? Because the atmosphere sounded incredible.
Well, I was very lucky, actually, Ali, because I had a magnificent view. They decided to put the English media on the roof of the pavilion. And so we were sat there with all the birds circling above us and the breeze blowing. And I was surrounded by guys carrying very heavy sniper rifles. So it was a slightly bizarre sort of view, but it gave us a chance to sample the atmosphere because, as you know, most press boxes in world cricket these days are behind glass. So it was nice to be outside and taking it all in, and it was just terrific. It was every ball was cheered, every run for both teams. It quietened down towards the end when it was clear England were going to win, but it was really special to be there.
Yeah, sounds unique, as many experiences in Pakistan are. Of course, at the moment, there's serious floods, devastating floods hitting Pakistan. So there are bigger things for people to be thinking about right now. But there was an incredible list of dignitaries at the ground, wasn't there, which I guess spoke volumes as to the significance of the start of this tour.
Absolutely. I mean, cricket diplomacy is in action in this tour. The British government and the Pakistan government work quite closely together. There are around 400,000 tourists go from the UK to Pakistan every year. So the importance of this tour goes beyond just the cricket. And England just being here after so long, it sends a sign that Pakistan is open.
Hello, Nick. Can you tell us about the security measures that are in place? I imagine safety first all over the place. What's the story there?
Well, it's pretty intense actually. I'm staying in the team hotel, so again, sort of a taste of what the players are going through. They closed the roads. Lining the on the route to the ground. Lining the route are soldiers armed, heavily armed all the way. There are guys on rooftops. There's a helicopter circling overhead. They actually had to take down the spider camera in the stadium because they realised that the emergency helicopter wouldn't be able to land if they had that in place. So yeah, it's everywhere. The players are followed around the lobby by close protection officers. Harry Brooks said yesterday, "I've even been followed to the toilet." And I suppose it makes you feel safe, but at the same time, it probably puts in their mind, if they hadn't thought of it before, that they could be a target. But the Pakistan Cricket Board are doing everything they can. It's costing around $5 million to put on this sort of security. It's a lot of money. They will make a loss on this series, but obviously they can't take any chances because if anything happens, then it's hard to see teams coming back for a very long time.
That is Nick Hoult, Chief Cricket Correspondent of the British newspaper, The Telegraph. Jim, what about your memories of touring Pakistan? Because you've travelled there as well, haven't you?
Well, a long time ago. I know Australia has been there recently, but the previous tour was 1998 when Mark Taylor made a memorable 334 not out. And we did what Nick was talking about. We went up to the border from Peshawar and to the mess of the Khyber Rifles for lunch and so on. I think in those days there wasn't quite the scare about security that there is now. So we were in a bus behind the players' bus. Today it'd only be the press going, I would imagine. It sounds very suffocating for the players to be in that environment. Just as well, it's a fairly short tour, but at least it is happening. That's most important. I'm a little concerned, as I was during Australia's tour of Pakistan, about the sanitising of the broadcast, though, and I'll be interested to hear how it's handled because a bit like India, the PCB run a rule over it all. No words are to be spoken out of order about the state of the pitch or the state of anything else. So I think we need a bit more transparency when it comes to covering cricket. They're not talking about security issues. They're talking about matters that relate to the course of the game. And I don't think there's any reason to doubt that when Australia went there a few months ago, the pitches were deader than Julius Caesar, and deliberately so, because Pakistan didn't want to lose. But there we are. That's the one side of the touring now that worries me. That we have these sanitised broadcasts, censored. So you'll have to put up with that again, I'm sure, when the real deal starts in a few days' time.
Yeah, you want commentators and broadcasters to be able to speak with honesty, impartiality and accuracy, don't you, on what they're seeing. Charu, the chairman of the Pakistan Cricket Board, Ramiz Raja, was on Sports World on the BBC World Service last weekend, and he said that hosting India in the future is a must. And he says he is openly discussing the idea with his counterpart, Sourav Ganguly. How far away do you think, though, we are from that actually ever happening?
To answer that quickly, a distance. But I must quickly take you back to, I think, 1999 when I last went to Pakistan. And I must confess that the hospitality throughout the country is just magnificent. And I had the luxury or the privilege of going to Ramiz's palatial home for a wonderful dinner. And he's a very close friend. I know he has been trying very hard internationally through the ICC and everybody else to say that we must get India-Pakistan going. In fact, that quadrangle that he was talking about some time back, including Australia and England. It does seem to me, I have to choose my words carefully here, that Pakistan and Ramiz and the people in charge before Ramiz as well were always keen to have India and other countries visit Pakistan. Of course, there was this problem that they needed to get over in terms of security. But on the Indian side, I still do feel that the country or the opinion makers or those in administration are not sure that they can arrive at that fall. yet. So it does look like from the Indian side, it might take a lot longer because it's the opening of a floodgate, isn't it? Because right now, just about everything is stopped. But if cricket opens up, then lots of other sporting exchanges also need to happen. And for the moment, even they are not happening. So we're, pretty badly stuck from the Indian side at this point of time, still.
So another week, another T20 franchise league has been picking its players. You might remember a couple of weeks ago on Stumped, we had former South Africa captain Graham Smith with us. He's the commissioner of the new SA20 league, which is set to begin in January. And he told us that his biggest challenge has been securing the game's star names. They had already signed up the likes of Jos Buttler and Jason Holder. And now the inaugural auction has taken place. And Jim, it's fair to say that New Zealand all-rounder Jimmy Neesham has had a little bit of a roller coaster, to say the least.
Yes, I think Jimmy, you'd have to say, is one of the more self-effacing, eccentric, idiosyncratic cricketers. Got that New Zealand humour that I and everyone else, I think, who watches him and sees him on social media enjoy. But having turned down a central contract, he missed out in the first round at the auction and then went for a fortune to the Pretoria Capitals in the second round. So luck's a fortune, whatever it is. The joys, the risks of being a freelance cricketer. So you can have one for me, Jimmy.
Yeah. Importantly, he hasn't ruled himself out. He hasn't retired from international cricket by not taking a central contract, but he said that he already had these commitments in place. It's still an interesting sort of turn of events, isn't it, that we will likely see more and more of. Charu, someone who wasn't so lucky, because, of course, Neesham, as Jim said, did get picked up for a lot of money in the end. But Temba Bavuma, he went completely unsold, and he is South Africa's T20 captain. So it's not great for the league, is it, that their national T20 captain and the man who will lead them at the World Cup isn't involved?
It's a bad message. And I wonder how not only Temba Bavuma, but a lot of other people who idolize him will take this whole situation saying that the T20 captain's not good enough for any of the South African teams. What's going on here? However, let me quickly also mention that this is sort of a trickle-down effect of the commercial success of the IPL, because as you mentioned, or as Graham did, that the IPL team owners are now owning various league teams and other leagues around the world. And because they are doing reasonably well, or is that the understatement of the year, in the IPL now commercially, I think the other leagues that they become parts of, or whichever owner becomes a part of, are likely to do well, because we all know, Ali, Jim, that these leagues around the world are sort of, they come in one avatar and then they die off and come on another because of all sorts of commercial problems. But with the IPL team owners now coming in, and especially now with this new avatar of SA20, I do think there'll be more stability. But I just wonder about the pressure that other nations are still not putting on India to say, well, we need your players to be able to increase the standards of their leagues, because he mentioned the Big Bash is in trouble. I don't know if it's or not, but we do need this kind of fair mix of players. And finally, all I can say is that, I know a thing or two about auctions, and they are like wild, untamed beasts. You never know who's going to go for how much where. It also depends on the chronology. Somebody comes up early, and you can go for a fairly large price. Not that Jimmy Neesham did. I mean, he came and they had to come in again. And some people just come late, and you think that's a really valuable player, but people have exhausted their budgets, and it's just one of those crazy things that happens in auctions.
Well, finally on Stumped, we're always asking you, our listeners, to get in touch with us on Twitter and give us your views on cricket. Well, one listener, Tim Layton, contacted us to tell us about his role as organiser of cricket in Montenegro, a very small European country with a population of about 600,000 people. And after hearing about his love of sport, we decided to invite Tim onto the show to tell us a little bit more about Montenegrin cricket. And we have found Tim on board his boat just off the coast. Tim, a very warm welcome to Stumped. Tell us a bit more exactly about where you are and your own backstory.
Well, thank you for having me on the show, Ali. It's a great pleasure to be here, and from this remote corner of Europe. But yes, civilization has arrived. We have some cricket here. A tradition
started up by a sea captain called Sir William Host, and there is another team in Croatia, in Vis, that bears his name, and he was also here after that in the Napoleonic era. So I think we're carrying on a tradition, really. I'm very pleased to be part of it.
What about the locals? What do they think of all this? And tell us a bit more about some of your international teammates.
Well, so the locals. So we used to play on the local football team's AstroTurf, and they would come and watch us just in slight bemusement, really, that we would be playing cricket in such temperatures. But I think they liked it, and we do have a couple of players. We also have actually a former Premiership goalkeeper, Sasha Ilic, who has represented his country too. And so he plays for us occasionally. And we do our best to recruit, but really the model is to do what the Serbians have done next door to us, and they are going in and coaching in schools, and it's taken them 10 years, but they've now got youngsters coming through who are much better than us. So I dread our next encounter with Serbia. Last time we met them, it was a close match, but we're all 7 years older and they're all 15 years younger.
It's Tim Layton, organiser of cricket in Montenegro. Well, if you've got a similar story to Tim's, we would love to hear it as well. Remember, you can be in touch with us on Twitter. We're at BBCWS Sport and use the hashtag BBC Stumped. Well, that's all we've got time for on Stumped for this week. So my thanks to Jim Maxwell and Charu Sharma, and of course to all of you for listening, and we'll see you again next week. Bye-bye.
From the BBC World Service, in association with ABC and All India Radio, this is Stumped.